Welcome to the Freedom Property Podcast, the modern real estate brand empowering excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's the Freedom Property Podcast show. And today we've got the best real estate trainer in the building, Mrs Sherrie Storer.
Oh, thank you so much. What an intro. The best. Oh, love it.
I've been to your seminars. I've been through your training course. It's really good.
Thank you, Josh.
How are
Thank
you?
you. I'm great, actually. I love being out here so close to the bay. It's been really beautiful. So thank you for the invite today.
So your office is in the city there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So I live in between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, but yes, pretty much in the CBD. Yep.
Yeah, nice. So how long have you been in real estate?
How long have I been in real estate? I got into the industry I'm trying to think about this recently, whether it was 2000 or 2001, but since I've been 21 anyway, so quite some time. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And you were in sales, weren't you? You were a sales agent.
Yeah, so
an office owner.
That's correct. Yeah. So I originally started in project marketing, actually. So before that, I was in retail. So I'm very, very passionate about retail. I love the art of selling and closing and finding out objections and kind of overcoming them and moving forward. So the whole art and craft of selling is something that I love and I, really fell in love with through working in retail. And so, project marketing is retail real estate. And so, originally I was selling a whole lot of projects off the plan, particularly for inner city apartments in Brisbane. And then from there, went into residential sales or resales, as we in the project marketing biz call them. Yeah, secondhand sales. Remember Carla Salima said that to us in Mastermind last year? And everyone was shocked and like, what are you talking about? But it's true, it's secondhand product, or third or 10th, or we're the custodians of the properties. So from there, then moved into residential sales and then, started owning my own chain of agencies, which did have residential sales offices. I had, a lot of project marketing sales divisions. So we were on site at 10 different locations from Cairns all the way down to Byron Bay. Yep. They were the ones that we were actually sitting in sales offices for. And, had a rent roll, had, a PR company as a part of that as well. So we would do big launches for master plan towns that would have a $100,000 budget in the middle of a rainforest, and no one could really get there unless we were like driving them in on like these massive kind of Sargent trucks. It was pretty cool. And of course, I had a cleaning division. I love building out businesses that have different divisions within the business per se. But, on top of all of that, I have been the director at Colliers where I oversaw the residential division, but most people do know me from being a residential sales agent. So I got back on the tools and was selling as an agent in 2011. So
absolutely. So you've pretty much done it all.
I have. Well, when it comes to res, I think I've got it pretty well nailed.
You do. I'm really interested to find out why you got into the coaching side of this.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, not a lot of people are aware of this, but I've been business coaching since 2008. And in addition to, working with a lot of real estate agents, I actually work with all different types of industries. It's just that real estate's my jam, right? So it's the thing that I love doing the most. But I think coaching people, it's not too different to being like in your role, because obviously you're helping people, you're nurturing them, you're mentoring them. That's part of your leadership role. And I actually really enjoy that. Yeah. And I think, there's that old saying, catch somebody a fish and they eat for one night, but teach them to fish and they'll eat a lifetime. And I think, for me, there is that part. And I think coming back to Mastermind and looking at last year, we heard from Philip DeBella. And he talked about having a job, having a career, and then having a soulful purpose. Yeah. And so for me, obviously, working on the tools as a real estate agent, I was very successful and I had that pretty much nailed, working 3.5 days a week, and life was pretty cruisy. But it wasn't really filling my bucket, so to speak. Yeah. And so the joy that I get from working with people and seeing them where they might be writing, still very good figures, whether it be 500K in GCI or 950K in GCI, to going up to writing 2 million or to 4 million or to 6 million. I mean, that's life-changing kind of stuff. Yeah. So, they can now afford, their dream houses, their dream cars, sending their kids to the schools that they want, having money behind them. So that is really enjoyable. So the relationship that I have with these people too is very close.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's really hard to explain, but, you know, I'm obviously heavily invested in them. They're heavily invested in me, and we're on the journey together.
Yep.
So, you know, I learn as much through the whole coaching process in working with them as I hope they get back in return.
Yeah. I really liked Phil at Mastermind.
He was great, wasn't he? Yeah. I think, you know, well, we're obviously marketing people. We love marketing. And, you know, for those that don't know, Philip DeBella, you know, is DeBella Coffee, and he built up that business and sold it for $60 million and started it from his garage, which, of course, we love that story. We love hearing a great business story. Yeah. And, you know, really just talk through the art and craft of marketing and, you know, how selling really looks like. And he was just full of so much gold.
I thought he was, he's really aggressive as well, which is what I like. You know, like straight to the point, you know, no mucking around. This is how it's going to be, you know, with me. Like, I really like that about him. Like, yeah, I thought he was really, really powerful that day.
He doesn't mince words. So I think even if you follow him on social media today, you would certainly see that. But, you know, he was just saying that there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's all about harmony. And I think there's some real truth in what he was sort of talking about. And I mean, he's lived a very big life, and he's talked about the impact that had on his family and on his health. And so, you know, obviously trying to pass that forward, which is, I guess, what Mastermind is all about. But yeah, I love Phil.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Mastermind, for the viewers that don't know what Mastermind is a really cool group, isn't it?
Yeah.
Group of people.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I guess Mastermind, I mean, again, this was something that came about because I wanted to know more. So I originally started it 4 years ago, and it just really happened because I was working, you know, with a lot of people one-on-one, and it was just, I'd become really close with all of these people, and I wanted them to become close and get to know each other. And so I put everybody in a room together, and my first year, you know, I was going through a lot of things. I think my husband and I were still doing a lot of IVF, and I just, you know, wanted a really safe space that I could explore what this program looked like. So I just invited my coaching clients in that first year. Second year, which you came to, which we opened it up, so we did have men and women, and, you know, it's for, you know, for agents and business owners all around Australia and New Zealand. And we have CEOs, we have franchise owners like yourself, we have selling principals, we've got lead agents. And so we're actually coming up for the next season this year. So we've had incredible people like Phil. Yeah. We've had Jonathan Thurston, who you also heard. I mean, how cool was JT? Last year we had Kathy Freeman. We've had, you know, Nathan Sharp. We've had all of these amazing business owners too. So this year we've got Danny Green coming up.
Cool.
So I'm really excited about Danny because he's going to really, he's a boxer. Yeah, so I think he's going to have a really interesting kind of story because he's had some ups and downs, and I think often we learn a lot from people who've had the downs. And again, he's a lot about promotions too because he's got one of the largest boxing promotional kind of companies in Australia and had the biggest pay-per-view fights. We've also got Janine Allis. He's obviously a very well-known Shark Tanker. Who else we got this year? Oh, Colleen Callender. So she's ex-CEO of Sports Girl and Suzanne Group. Yep. So we've got some amazing people this year.
Yeah, like the speakers that you have in that event are awesome. But to be honest, like for me, it was more meeting
the group.
Like that's what I loved about it.
Yeah.
Like, and some of those people I'm still in touch with now.
Yeah.
Like if I see them, I'm like, go and speak to them, say hello. And
it's hard to explain the relationship that you have because it's obviously a closed container and there's only 30 people. So, you know, last year we had 142 people apply. So I handpick people. Nice. But it's like you want to make sure that, you know, if you're giving information you're receiving, that it comes from a good place. That everybody signs confidentiality. So it's hard to explain outside of that room how it feels, but the connections are definitely there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm hoping to create something similar. It's called Agent Growth.
Okay.
So we're going to keep it online to start with. So we've built a training program, and I'll show you after this. But we're going to have a community. I've got all the freedom agents in there at the moment,
right?
And we're all just talking to each other in there, asking us questions like, "How would you deal with this? What do you do on Monday mornings? Like, how do you handle this objection?" And start to collaborate and communicate in there. And then next to this, there's a classroom. So they have to, you know, I've taken me like 18 months, as you know, to finish this training program that I've built, and it's all in there now for the freedom agents to use.
Oh, well done to you, because I have to say, building a course, it's really hard work. People don't know how hard it is. It takes a lot of work, so congratulations to you. And I think obviously, you know, you're trying to build a community. Well, you have built a community and you've built that strong foundation, and I think that's one of the things as a real estate agent, it can be very lonely in this industry. So I think to have that community is so powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, it would the reason why I say that is because we could put your program in. We'll talk about that.
Keep telling me about that.
Yeah.
Well, all right, we'll talk about that afterwards.
We can link up and do something like that. I reckon it would be awesome. But, you've coached, like you say, agents doing 200 to 6 million,
plus, yeah.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like tell me about these agents. Like what have they got in common, like these really good agents?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. This is what I notice about characteristics of agents. And I say this with love because I'm an agent too. We're all a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Gotta be.
And we're all almost like compulsive obsessive. So it's like we just don't let things go.
Yep.
So, there's truly successful ones, like they're backed into a corner, they're up against another agent. And, the ones that are really successful will put on the boxing gloves. You're talking about Danny Green.
Yep.
Put on the boxing gloves and we'll really come at it. And it's like, I'm not going to let it go.
Yep.
I'm going to do everything I possibly can to win this listing, even though they've told me no. Yep. Like, what can I do to make that happen? So I think there's something in that obsessive compulsive.
Nice.
I think on the flip side of that can be challenging because then it's like we want everything done perfectly a certain way. So it's like, you have to let go of some of those things that, like where the staple goes on, when you're stapling things. And I've seen a lot of agents be very obsessive about those things with their teams. So I think, that's one side. The other part is we love to have control, which, goes without saying. But I think there's a reason for that. I think the control is because we work so hard to get that listing. We don't get paid unless we actually sell that listing. So it's like if something goes wrong throughout that whole process, it's like we could lose that listing and all that work. And, it's not even just about what happens after we actually sign the appointment form, but it's like the years of work that went into, actually getting them up to that point of that lead nurturing. So I think, there needs to be an understanding that, that control, there's a point that, where you get to a certain level and you want to build a team or you need to build a team to get bigger, you need to let go of some of those things, and you pick your battles and you pick what you're going to, be really diligent about and the things that you're kind of not.
This podcast show is all about you, agents. It's all about giving you the tips, the tricks, the strategies to take your business and your life to the next level. I'm very passionate about helping real estate agents, and the more people that subscribe and like this show, the better guests we can get on and the more value we can bring to you. So follow us, give us a like, and tell your friends. Look forward to working with you.
Yeah, and that's what you're good at, isn't it, with these agents? You sit with them and you say, all right, these are the processes that I would let go of.
Yeah.
And you give that to them, don't you? So.
Yeah. I think, there is definitely something in systems and structures and standard operating procedures. And yes, obviously they're all templates that I built out and used and my coaching clients use. But also the other part of it is mindset. So sometimes just not realizing that you're holding on to something that's no longer serving you. And I often sort of compare it myself to, you are standing in front of this high-rise building and, let's say it's got 10 levels and it's one apartment per floor. And, you might say, okay, well, listen, I'm currently on level 2 and I want to get to level 10. Well, the activities that you did when you're on ground floor or level 1 or level 2 is not what it's going to take to get you to level 10. So you've got to think, okay, what do I need to let go of in terms of that weight? Imagine thinking visually, letting go of that weight in order to climb the stairs up into that next level.
Absolutely. Like how big can an agent get, like if they were just by themselves?
Yeah.
Like when should they take on a team?
Yeah, great question. I think the thing to think about here is, yes, you can do a lot of business yourself, but how long is that sustainable for? So, you might get really excited and be able to do that for 2 years, for 3 years, for 4 years, for 5 years by yourself. But at some point, generally, adrenal fatigue starts to build in, to sort of kick in, because we've got lots of highs and we've got lots of lows. If you have a family and you're not spending any time with your family because you're constantly on the phone, or you're away on holidays in Europe and your family's off having a good time, but you're staying up at night getting back to everyone, like it's just not sustainable. I think, a sustainable source of business, whether you have a business within a business or run an agency, is actually about, okay, well, what can I do to have longevity? So, it's about having, like my coaching clients who are on the tools selling, they take, a 3-day weekend every 4 to 6 weeks, 1 week off a quarter, and then 1 to 2 months off a year on top of that. So that's very sustainable. So in order to do that, you need to have other people working in your business. Yeah. So I usually say it depends on the determination, the motivation. If you've got somebody who's really gun-ho to sort of do something great, and, you know, they're writing 400K a year, but they've got ambitions to write $1 million. Well, you should put on a PA at that particular point in time. I remember, you know, when I got back onto the tool selling, and without sort of, you know, going into too much detail, but, you know, like everyone in business, I've had highs and lows. And certainly, you know, when I was in a position where I got back on the tools selling, and, you know, I had to make some tough choices. And I had a lot of people around me previously that I was delegating to. And then all of a sudden I had to do all this paperwork myself. Let me tell you, it was not an easy gig. So, you know, I remember at that particular point where I had, you know, lost all of my wealth, and I'd really set myself up quite nicely. I had a lot of investment properties and so forth. But, you know, I made the decision, okay, listen, I was going to rent out my spare bedroom, because what was more important to me was hiring a PA. Nice. And I spent that money on a PA. So I think if your determination is apparent, do it at an early stage. Yeah. I often see where the agents make a mistake if they're writing 200 or 300. There's just not enough money to sustain you having a lifestyle, you know, and being able to pay for things. So I think where you put on your third person, so I always think the first person should be a PA, a straight PA, because at the end of the day, the best person to be making the phone calls is you. Yeah. You know, you're the one who's best at making relationships with people, whether it be face-to-face or over the phone. So I think that next person is really a co-agent. And, you know, that's where you're really kind of splitting up the buyer work and the seller work. So I know that this is a little bit controversial, but, you know, often I see that, you know, agents, they expect their co-agents to be prospecting. And I just think at the end of the day, that's a big ask for a co-agent, because at the end of the day, if they were able to do it, why would they be working for you? Yeah. So it makes sense that, you know, they would be doing the buyer work, and you would still be doing a lot of, you know, they would still be doing some prospecting and leveraging around the listings, but realistically, you know, you are the main source of that business with an attraction model.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember I was working my ass off. I was doing like $700,000 a year by myself, and I was at this point where I was just like, I'm gonna snap. I need some help. I couldn't continue like this. It was becoming too much, and I always had this mindset as an agent. I was just like, because people were like, there was people that were doing more than me at the time, and I was like, yeah, but they've got 3 people in their team. I'm gonna beat them by myself.
Yeah, and you weren't like a badge of honor. I
was like, no, I'm by myself. I'm gonna do this by myself. You know, like, and that's how I used to think about things. And then as soon as I let go of a few things and I brought a couple of people in, my business just went. I was like, oh, seriously. I was like, okay, how many people I got in my team? Those big writers, you know, those $5-6 million writers, like, how many people have they got in their team?
Yeah, look, I think that's the question, because it has to be a mix in between writing the GCI and also being profitable. And I think there comes a point where lifestyle is also really important. So to a lot of these people, they might be working a lot less. So I've got agents who are working 5-10 hours a week, and they've obviously got bigger teams, and they might be drawing less out of that. Yeah. And then I've got others who are drawing a lot from that, and they're a lot more hands-on. So, but those agents, you know, typically they have got, you know, a PA, they've got a VA or a PA for the PA. When I say a PA for the PA, let's say they're a in real life person, IRL person, they might be working part-time, doing 20 hours per week, and they might be doing things such as pulling together reports, you know, the on the markets, those sorts of things. And the PA actually manages them. So the team manager actually manages that person. And then, you know, you've got 2 or 3 co-agents typically, depending on, you know, which marketplace you're in. So whether you need to have a high volume kind of marketplace where you're doing, you know, a lot of transactions because your average cost per price per sale is lower, or if you're in a prestige market, usually you still have to do a lot of preparation to get these houses ready to go. Yeah. So, you know, some of my teams who are writing $5 million who are selling prestige do only have 2 co-agents.
Yeah, nice. The mindset of these agents that you're working with, you know, like especially like the quality ones, the ones that survive, you know, like how is their mindset different?
Yeah. Look, I think again, you know, they are very compulsive. But I think one of the learned skills that is most hardest to master, well, certainly was for me, is learning how to let go and how to switch off.
Yep.
And I'm sure you have found that through your career too. You know, it is about being able to say, okay, I'm home for the night with my family. You know, I'm not going to check my phone now.
Yeah.
We're all addicted to checking our phones, right? Like it's a compulsive disorder. So I say that with jest, right? But the reality is learning how to switch off.
Yeah.
So for me now, like I work 2 weeks out of 4, and a lot of people would find that like mind-boggling. But that's my lifestyle that I want, you know. So it's really hard in those weeks off. Like obviously if I have coaching clients who have emergency, and by the way, people don't know when I'm working, when I'm not. Like my business is set up so that people aren't necessarily aware of that. I'm just fully booked in the time that I'm, you know, not there, which everyone's probably listening to that going, Sherrie's on a day off. And I'm quite heavily booked in advance. But the reality is that, you know, I have a team of people who I trust, who are empowered. We catch up, you know, on a fortnightly basis. You know, I do recommend to my agents who have EBUs that they catch up once a week from a team point of view and to do one-on-ones. And you empower them in terms of those projects and things that they're working on so that you don't have to micromanage them every second of the day. So, you know, some of the people in my team, like, you know, Sandra, you know, we've been working together in excess of 20 years on and off. Mel, you know, it's 12 years on and off. So, you know, these are long-term relationships that have fostered that, you know, there is complete trust and they know what they need to be doing in the business.
That's awesome. Do you reckon when you meet an agent, you know if they're going to be successful or not? Do you get that vibe off certain people?
I usually do. I think one of them, as I just sort of said, that crazy compulsive sort of thing kind of kicks in and that control. But usually, you know, what they need from me, in addition to the systems and the templates and the cheat sheets, it is actually somebody else believing in them.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, and I don't want to keep talking about Mastermind, but you know, there's so many lessons that I've learned along the way, and that I'm sure you learnt through the program. But remember, you know, our first session with Lee Swing Sing, and he talked about who's Mao's last dancer. He's a ballet dancer, and one of the world's best. But he talked about the fact that somebody else believed in him, and that gave him the confidence to, you know, to practice the discipline to not let that person down. And so often it is actually me believing in them more than they believe in themselves, that I see something that they haven't seen as yet, that they've got their own glass ceilings, that they've got their own brick walls, that they haven't yet seen what I think is possible for them. And just showcasing what I think and showing them the path is often where that success comes.
I can't agree more with you there. Like there's so many agents inside this business, and I'm like, you don't even realize like how good you could be.
Yeah.
You know, like because they're so likable, or they're so humble, or they're so hardworking.
Yeah.
Or there's just something that they're missing, that if they just went boom, their business would just go crazy. And it's sometimes just a belief, isn't it?
It is. I think having your own belief. And I actually saw a quote yesterday, and it was like, it costs $0 to believe in yourself. Nice. And I thought that was so powerful and so true. And even for myself, like I'm constantly reassessing my own mindset around what's possible for me. So I think you need to always be reassessing. And I think that's why, you know, doing quarterly goals is really important, why you should be doing, you know, resetting your goals every half year and every year, because, you know, you want to set these big crazy goals that sound like extraordinary, but if you don't reach for them, the reality is that you will never get anywhere close to them. But what we do know is by actually highlighting what they are and going for it, you're going to see you either achieve them, surpass them, or get very close to it.
Yeah. I used to do that a lot as well. Like my goals were very achievable, like, and I'd usually go pretty close. And then I went to this Nick Stewart seminar.
Oh, he's great, Nick.
Yeah, we spent some time together, and he wrote down. He's like, everyone, I want you to write down your goal for your area, or you know what you want to achieve this year. And people were writing down numbers, and I wrote 50% market share in my suburb. This is what I wanted at the time. I think I must have had like 5 or something like that. So I wrote 50% down, and then he was like, now double it. That's your new goal. And I was just like, my whole like mind just,
you're like what?
Came.
I do that.
I was like, every listing. I was like, that's exactly how.
Yeah. I love it.
You know? And like sometimes you just need that outside perspective, don't you?
Yeah.
Like I've got agents inside this office, and I can keep saying these things. I can keep saying it. And then I bring someone like you in, and then you say it, and then they start listening.
Yeah, it's the same conversation. But it's also a different tone of voice. And I think, this is the thing that I see as a coach, that, I may not necessarily be the voice for everybody. And we've got some amazing coaches in this industry. But, there are some people who really relate to my voice or really relate to my story or to my style, and so I'm really grateful for that. They're my tribe. Just like as real estate agents, there's people in your marketplace that are your tribe. And then you've got those ones that really aren't. They're the ones that, want more money for it, don't want to pay for any marketing, that are difficult, that are draining you. So I think, we just want to do more business with people that are, are relatable to you, more fun to deal with. I mean, I'm choosing to do this because it is my soulful purpose. It's fun. I don't really want to work with people where it's a battle every single, moment of every single day.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job. You're smashing it.
Thank you, Josh. You're a sweetheart.
No, look, I really appreciate you coming in today. And I think agents, you should reach out to Sherrie and have a chat to her. She'll really help your business.
Oh, thank you. Actually, can I give a plug, Josh? I am doing an EBU conference actually in the middle of the year this year. Nice. I haven't really told anyone about it yet.
Awesome.
So it's going to be on the 30th and 31st of July. And it's a 2-day event. So it's in Brisbane. And, I've had so many people ask for this over the years, and I just haven't had capacity, or we've had COVID.
Yep.
So this year we are doing it. It's 2 days, and we have got 2 speakers already lined up, but there will be a lot of industry speakers. The first one is Dr. Phil Jauncey. So Dr. Phil is one of the most remarkable performance psychologists, that you will see anywhere in this world. And he works with a lot of sporting teams. I've worked with him since 2008. So he's Wayne Bennett's right-hand man, the super coach of all super coaches. He's worked with the Olympic team, with the Indian cricket team, the English cricket team. He works with corporates. He works with actors, performers. So we've got Dr. Phil. So he'll be talking about how we can really come together to work as a high-performing team. And we've also got Samantha Cox. So Sam is a dear friend of mine, and she was Richard Branson's PA for 5 years. So, very rarely on stage do we ever hear any inspirational stories from support people.
Yeah.
But, this 2-day event is actually about how can everybody, come together to work as a team, whether you be a co-agent, whether you be a team manager, or whether you be a lead agent. So it's like, I'm really excited about that. So, in addition to working with Richard, she's also worked at Hard Rock Hotels for 5 years in exceptional customer service. So I think most real estate agents who I'm dealing with, they want to be service providers. They really want to go above and beyond and help create that attraction model business. So Sam's going to be really epic, actually.
Yeah, it's like not a lot of agents, not a lot of trainers are talking about their business units as well.
Yeah.
So I think that would be an amazing session to be a part of.
Yeah, you'll have to come.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you.